Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before we begin, we'd like to give all praise, all glory, all honor unto
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem
Hashem
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Ba'ashem
Hashem
Rakah
Rakah Kodash,
Kodash.
giving double honors unto the apostles and elders and great mercy, I'm sure you do work. And as always, I'm sure you do well. And as always, I'd like to say shalom unto the elect.
Shalom to the Lord.
There's a couple of brothers here. Let me have a shall camp and the brother.
Hanana,
And my brother Isaiah, I'm coming back to you with another video. Lord, will be edifying to the elect. Repent, for
for
the
the
kingdom of heaven is at hand. And we wanted to get into tonight is concerning,
Shalom.
it would have been a phone call. The brother Marshall, I would have gotten on it. So lucky. We would have been on a phone call with someone, him and the brother Can and I met when they were in a taxi heading to our destination, right? And the guy in the taxi would have asked them if they believe in God or Jesus Christ. He said, no, we believe in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And we could give them a better report.
Yeah,
Keep it.
the brother, Marsha was sitting down to me on my left hand side at a walkway between the seats on the left hand side and the seats on the right hand side. And the guy on the left hand side, sitting on the left hand side walkway, asked us if we believe in God. We say yeah. Yeah, so I believe in Jesus. We say no. We believe in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Him. So or is Hebrew Israelites? We say yeah. And you proceeded to ask us some more questions.
So which it ended where they got his number and he would have called the brother Marshall. I could be 2-3 days ago from now, right? And while getting into the conversation with Marshall, I didn't really, listen too much. I won't say a good bit because the conversation could have been 3-4 hours or 2-3 hours more accurately, and I could have been there in totality for about 30 minutes of it. I was in and out. I was really paying attention to what was taking place, right? But I overheard the man say, and the way in which he was speaking, you know these people listening to the Israelites and learning a few things from the Israelites. Because the way in which he was speaking and the questions he was asking, he sounded way more educated than your average dumb factual pastor. Right? Pastor Porkchop sounded far more educated than Pastor Porkchop according to the Bible. He would even say, go to these precepts, and this precept, and this precept says this, and this precept says that, etc., etc. Now is he saying he has the doctrine correct down to that? He knows he doesn't know anything. But the way in which he was speaking, right, and how he was bringing out things, and know he was sick of the Israelites, right, because he came in, I won't say totally combative, but he came in a spirit and a demeanor like, hey, I've heard this was said, but no, this is the correct answer, right? So you're not listening to the Israelites because they're responding and the give and takes that could only attempt to condemn the doctrine of the Israelites, right? But one thing he would have said which inspired me to do this video, right, which this is something I overheard, right, he would have said along the lines of Yahushai, and he said Jesus, but Yahushai coming 2,000 years ago was a fulfillment of the stone smote in the image at its feet, right, and that the Roman Empire which Yahushai dwelt in when he came was the final empire to rule within it, or the final empire within that beast system, or the statue, let's say, because he used Daniel 2 and from 44, I believe, right? One moment, right? So he said, so he's claiming the final empire in it, or the final, let's say, because we know, I say the final empire in it, but let me say it like this. The empire that ruled at that time was the final empire in Daniel's image in Daniel, or in Nebuchadnezzar's image or dream which Daniel interpreted.
Expounded on time.
Right, back then, right? But that could be the furthest thing from the truth. He's also saying Yahweh Shai
That
fulfill.
could be it is for a
Yeah,
second.
easy for the same from the truth. But Yahweh Shai, he also saying Yahweh Shai, Jesus Christ, he was saying, fulfill the smoting of the image 2,000 years ago. So with that being established, let's actually get into it, right? The exact precept in question is Daniel 2 from verse 38.
I read
Right,
34.
right. Read you see,
I'm from 31.
right, read 31 to 35 and then jump to verse 30 40. Right.
Mm,
Yeah, read from 31, read from
I 30.
31.
I 30. Read Daniel 2 and 30. But as for me, the secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breasts and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that stone,
So
till that
that is
thou sawest till that his stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
right.
Then
Jump down
was
to verse 40.
okay. Jumping out
Yeah.
of verse
Sorry, yeah. Verse 35, my apologies.
mhm.
Verse 35.
Verse 35. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the shaft of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This
Actually,
is
continue.
yeah.
Continue down till we get to the point.
Mm.
Because Daniel gonna accurately break down what this image represented, right? Which we know they listen to us. Because when have you ever heard Christians bring up these talking points?
There wasn't really a
I've
topic.
never heard this before I came to this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, as the psalmist Asaph said. Not until I went into the sanctuary of the Lord that
Is
understood I
that the
therein.
end?
They never understood these things or even went into these things. When they go to the Christian church, they're not talking about Psalms 137. Obadiah. You didn't know about Obadiah till you came to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. So the question is, when would these people talking about this? They are listening to us. Firmly believe that. Go ahead.
Verse 36, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king.
Right.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the power of heaven had given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold.
Right, so his empire, which he's speaking to Nebuchadnezzar, and Nebuchadnezzar is actually the representation of the Babylonian empire, right? So he's saying, thou art this head of gold. The Babylonian empire is representative of what? The head of gold, right? Go ahead.
Verse 9, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
Right, so that another kingdom is representative of the Medo-Persian captivity, because they would be the ones of the Medo-Persian Empire. If you do some secular research, you actually call it the Achaemenid Empire. These people would come in and take out the Babylonian Empire. Then after them, who would take them out would be the Grecians, spearheaded by Alexander the Great. Go ahead.
Verse 40, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall break in pieces and bruise. And
Right.
whereas, sorry, yeah,
Right. So now this fourth kingdom is representative of what? What kingdom came after the Grecian Empire, because this is important to highlight. It's the Roman Empire. This man we were speaking with over the phone, he's claiming, or with Marshall was speaking with over the phone and I was over here, he's claiming that the Hawashai Smote in the image is supposed to represent this fourth empire here. But my thing is this, the stone Smote in the image, if you could go back up, that didn't come till when? Verse 33, the legs of iron, the legs is representative of the Roman Empire. Hawashai came in the legs. Right? And his feet, part of iron and part of clay. This empire, this part of iron and part of clay, as we're gonna read about, was supposed to rise up after the legs of iron. So how could Yahushua come and smote the image at its feet when he smoting it at the legs? And how could he come and smote it at the legs when he was supposed to come at the end of the last kingdom to destroy it? Now, yes, he did come 2,000 years ago. We're not dishonoring that. Of course, he came 2,000 years ago. But did he come with the mission of smoting the image at his feet? No, he did not. He did not come with that mission 2,000 years ago, as that is our talking point later in the points I have listed. Right? Go ahead. Back to verse
Back to verse 41.
41.
And whereas also as the feet and the toes.
Right, so as I said, as Daniel is about to explain here beautifully, that this is the representative of another kingdom, which is the kingdom we currently dwelling in today. We are currently dwelling in this said same kingdom today. This is the kingdom that the stone has to come and smote. Right? And this is the kingdom in which the stone is prophesied to come and smote. Right?
Verse 41. And whereas also as the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
Right, because the iron is representative of the military might. And this empire, which is seen part of clay and part of iron, is representative of the empire we see in today. These nations are not getting along with each other. These nations are not getting along with each other.
The iron don't mix with clay.
Iron don't mix with clay. You're going to see that same thing here.
Verse 43. And whereas thou sat, verse 42, and the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay.
So what? They were part the strong nations and part the weak nations. Right?
So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
Right, so it's going to be part of it is going to be strong, part of it is going to be broken or weak. And this severed relationship they have with each other is going to be one of the two, or one of a few things are going to lead to their demise, right? Or one of our list of things are going to lead to their demise, right?
Whereas also as iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
Right, and which we see not in here today. Decades long, and a century long partnership they had with the formation of the NATO and the EU, right? Or let's say the EU was the NATO, the one that came out in 1951. NATO, right? That was formed there with the intention of stopping Russia from becoming a global superpower, or stopping Russia from, should hit the fan concerning them. There's a good, coalition of nations that will be able to stand against them, because they knew Russia was always a powerful enemy, right? But I just confirming 1949, right? 1949, that was the formation of NATO, spearheaded by the United States, was what formed with the intention of stopping Russia, or not allowing Russia to be as powerful as they would have been if this coalition was not formed. What is important concerning this coalition is currently what? Fighting against each other today. It's fighting against each other today, proving that they're fulfilling this. Because when did the Romans fulfill? Let's say, for argument's sake, this is speaking about the Roman Empire, which it wasn't. But let's say it was. When would the Roman Empire fulfill these things here? To the point where this led to the destruction of the empire. And then when the destruction of the Roman Empire came, was it because of the stone that smote in the image at his feet? Because we know these people still have infighting with their allies, right? We know a lot of things can lead to. I can't sit here and outright say just because, because they could just find a vast state that was under the Roman Empire and say, hey, they not mixing, they not doing with the Roman Empire, so what? Yeah, that's an example of then I'm mixing myself with you. No, that's not a valid example. Because at the end of this, what is going to happen now? Verse 4,
44.
right?
And the days of these kings shall the power of heaven Yahweh.
So in the midst of this empire we're witnessing currently, midst of the empire which we are witnessing currently, right? What's going to happen?
Shall set up a kingdom.
Shall set up a kingdom. So let's say, for argument's sake, what we just read was applying to the Roman Empire back then. The Roman Empire back then is done. And who was it supposed to be gotten rid of by? Yahweh
Our
Shai,
dead.
as you're going to read here. So how the hell did he fulfill the stone smote in the image back 2,000 years back? Right?
It shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
So you see, come on, baby,
On the
right?
verse 45. For as much as thou sawest that stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great power I made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. That next clue to let you know that when Yahweh Shai came here 2,000 years ago, we will call it the Roman Empire, or he didn't destroy the Roman Empire entirely. How the scripture say it, Salak.
How we go?
Salak, I try and get my thoughts on it.
Let's say something about entirely.
Hmm?
Let's say something concerning entirely.
Yeah. Salak, I can't remember the precept I was going to bring, but the point I wanted to bring is this. If Yahweh Shai had completely done away with the Roman Empire when he came 2,000 years ago, his kingdom would be established. His kingdom wasn't. So how we could I be talking about the Roman Empire back then if his kingdom is not standing today?
Exactly. Exactly. That is the beautiful thing there, because the kingdom Yahweh Shai promised us going to get later on in the video is an everlasting kingdom. A kingdom that's supposed to be, as it says that here.
Right, I don't remember what I was bringing.
It says that Daniel 7.
Daniel
Of
7.
course. Because is that our point here? Yeah, that's our point in our later part.
Oh
no, is it really first? Is it really first point to read yourself it? So you could bring out that because you have because Revelation 13 and Revelation 17 perfectly highlights the fact or the need for Daniel 7 or no and Daniel 7 verse 7 to 8 perfectly highlights that there will be what? An empire to come after the Roman Empire. So if that be the case, right, how could he fulfill Smote in that entire image, and that image represented all of the rulers of the earth and all of the empires of the earth that the Lord had deemed to rule, right? And he didn't come and destroy it at that time.
Because the point I wanted to bring, I'll jump back up to the Daniel 7 and 7, but the point I wanted to bring was Daniel 7 and 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forevermore. So even forever and ever. When Yahweh Shai come here, where Yahweh Shai say what this is not his kingdom, if it was his servants, how that they waited.
John later on in the video, John 18
Oh, so like, I don't want to bring it. I don't want to bring it too early.
You see the spirit, see? That is the spirit. I didn't even, when I was putting the notes together for this video, I didn't even consult the brother or ask him. And I just say this video came from one concerning our conversation. I had the notes written down, but I said I will do the video together. And he bringing out the same points I write down. He wasn't present for when I was writing it down. And look what. He used the spirit up everything when the spirit is at prayer, because even he could sit down and you tell him that he understands due to all of these scriptures he bringing out here. That could never make any sense.
Because that's the point I would need to bring. If this was Yahweh Shai's kingdom, his servants would have taken it down or made sure it was in his hand when he was here 2,000 years ago.
Exactly.
It's not.
Exactly.
So how that could ever be the fulfillment that when Yahweh Shai came here 2,000 years ago? And now he come here for? He tell the disciples was waiting for him to get in the kingdom. And he said, I ain't come here for that. I come here to die for the sins of many.
Same precept.
Right.
Again, and then another beautiful point to add as well to time when you say in there, Satan is a beautiful example of why
So that, yeah.
of proof that Yahweh didn't come and establish or smote any image 3,000 years ago. Because think about it. Satan offered Yahweh the kingdom of the world.
Right.
Why would he offer Yahweh the kingdom of the world if Yahweh is coming to take the kingdom? Doesn't make. How could he have tempted him with something that he would have had in his
This hand,
control and his
exactly.
power at that time?
But we know ultimately everything belongs to Yahweh Hashem
We know,
Yahushai.
yeah, we know.
But if we're
But
talking about bringing it into this context, Satan can offer him something
how
that
could he
Yahushai
offer?
has.
If he literally came and it was in his hand and in his possession, why would he have it? Why would he need to? How could Satan offer him the world and the world exists?
And I think they had to ask these men, how are you saying that Yahushai take down the kingdom how much years ago and you still suffering? What point in prophecy we at? Because something
What?
ain't adding up.
Who? No, well, let me not say Yahushua because he can't say that about Yahushua. He's
So
saying about Jesus
Jesus,
Christ.
yeah, we're going on with you.
It has to be Jesus Christ running this earth because this earth is running into oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be. So yeah, we really and truly, yeah, Jesus Christ was here 2,000 years ago. Was it? Yeah, Jesus Christ, he established his empire. Yeah, his empire was running 2,000 years ago. But Yahushua, no. No. Yahushua was not coming here 2,000 years ago with the intention of taking over this world and having it under his grasp and his possession and his authority, and that not be done. This is we are not Islamic people here. We are not your so-called Christians. We are not any of you. When our power comes to do business and assigned business and dedicated business, it is done. There's no room for error. We wouldn't be here in this position if Yahushua came literally 2,000 years ago and smooth it.
We literally will not be talking on this phone either.
Exactly. Go ahead. You had something with Daniel 7.
Not right,
You already read it?
yeah, I just want to jump back up to the verse you wanted, Daniel 7 and
Daniel,
7.
yeah.
The Daniel 7 and 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. It had great iron teeth,
Which is
represented the military might.
Yeah, and this beast here is representative of the Roman Empire. Right.
It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Representing what? It used to rule differently from the other beasts before, because what? The other beasts used to run, or you say you pass it down from generation to generation.
I look up the name of that ruler.
I can't remember what it's called. I think it's hereditary.
No,
it's not that?
No, it's hereditary meaning it pass from father
to son. Right? I can't remember what it's called. Look it up now.
I can't remember. Yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
That ain't important.
But the other beasts used to run the kingdom like that. This beast here though used to have officials or emperors elected. Selected
through the Senate.
Exactly.
Right.
Verse 8.
Yeah.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
Which you're gonna further expound this one in Revelation 13 chapter, because what? This is representative of the Babylonian Empire, the current empire which rules here today. Right? It's not Yahushua's empire, right? The current nation which rules here today. This is representative of them coming up into power, right?
And behold, this horn, so like, behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things.
So let's break this down more by using Revelation 1 or 13 from verse. I think I put 1 to 5 in the notes, but I think it's 1 to 2. 1 to. Well, yeah, it's actually 1 to 5. Right.
Revelation 13 and 1. I stood up on the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, by the way, when John was getting this vision, John was actually seeing what he was writing. It's only in these times we get the interpretation of that which he was seeing and writing.
Yeah, we have the accurate interpretation, because one part of the reason the prophets breakdowns weren't, it was written the way it was written, and it weren't, let's say,
clear or clean,
because they hadn't lived through it yet. Right? The prophets wrote a lot of prophecy. So things which we see, what them would have saw back then, which is what we live in today.
That's what we play now today.
Yeah, they couldn't describe, because we often say you can't imagine King David in the way today, the way the earth is running. We catch a lot of bodies.
I said either he would have been killed or he would have died trying.
Exactly. So with that, being understood and stated, could read from verse 1.
And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy.
So you read from the south?
I'll read back from that.
Yeah. So.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea. I saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Which beast had I seen rise up out of the sea? The Babylonian Empire. Right.
And having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Which this now, or the beast, sorry, let me say it properly. I apologize. The beast is representative of the Edomite power structure that has governed the earth since the time of the Grecian Empire.
Because all the heads
is representative of all the empires
that was run by Esau.
Which now the heads start with the leopards or the Grecians. From the Grecians they went to the Romans. From the Romans they were put into captivity. And at that time they were put into captivity. Then they came back as Germania Minor,
Major,
French. Major.
Sorry, Major and Minor.
Germania Major, Germania Minor.
That is
French,
the Spanish, and the
British, which is what was spoken about in Daniel, the 7th chapter, and the 8th verse in which we just read. You go back to it, right? And these 10 horns, of course, are representative of what? The vassal states or the NATO and EU, right? Which we do a part 2 just highlighting this first point we're going into here and bringing receipts to prove it. So that we bring the historical records, aka the Revolutionary Wars, etc., etc. They just a brief overview before we get into it more, right? So we should leave at the end of this video. In fact, I may even send it to the guy if he's willing to watch. If not, we'll be just seeing feet of him, right?
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet was as the feet of a bear, which means what?
That it started with the Grecians.
At the point I'm going to make the leopard represents the Grecian Empire. If you go back to Daniel 7, I think it's verse 3. It's verse 3. So I can get a real quick. Daniel 7, yes. Daniel 7 and this is second.
Looking for
bear. So I'm looking for one.
When who came?
Verse 6, yeah, Daniel 7 6. After I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. This leopard representing who? Alexander the Great.
Right.
It represented what? The Grecian Empire.
Right.
Jumping back to Revelation 13 now. So the beast which I saw was like an entire leopard. So at the beginning of this beast was what?
The
Grecians. And the feet of it were as the feet of a bear. What the feet of a man is what the end of his body. So the end of this beast is the feet of the bear, which is what? The Russian Empire.
We're gonna come to the Russians. Because a beautiful point I had as well. And one of the people are going to help bring about the demise of Esau Edom is the Russians. Another point to prove as well, another point to add concerning this as well is think about it. Think about it. The head being the leopard, right, and then the feet being the bear. End of the empire is supposed to come to the Russians, right? Would the Russians have play back then?
No.
Come on, that's another point I go add to it, and then we expound on that as well. Prophecy. A lot of points in history, right, which needed to end this empire, went at play.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna put one time, and I understand. I remember what line I'm going down with this. Well, second is just 11. That the end of their time
shall come through them.
Well, who would have brought the end of their times back then if it just came through Yahushua? Then we know Yahushua going to spearhead it. Make no mistake about that. Even this time he's going to spearhead it. But the Lord made mention of using Gog and Magog as well.
The scripture also talk about in Revelation, the 17th chapter.
Yeah,
that shall give that. Okay.
So think about it. Think about it, you all. All the parties want in play at this time. Right?
Now, annexing to the prophecies, as they say, Yahushua had not yet baptized John. Yahushua had to baptize John, and John the Baptist said what Yahushua baptized him with two things, either with the Spirit or with fire. John was not baptized with the Spirit. So how he kingdom can get established if John don't know going on? If John then come and wake up the fathers. Too much things then
Too
happen.
much prophecies had to take place at that point in time, especially surrounding the destruction of Babylon or this empire, this aforementioned empire in of itself. For us to sit and say, hey, this was it. No, this was not it. Go ahead.
And this mouth as the mouth of a lion, representing what the English, the British, well, because what them is the ones that send forth all the legislations.
And the keys, it's come out of London, go ahead.
And the dragon gave him his power, meaning what the Roman Empire gave the beast the power and his seat and great authority.
Right, so they gave them the power seat, right? They really established it. The first empire was the Grecians concerning the Edomites, but when they really established itself as a dominant force in the earth was under the Romans.
Yeah,
So
like
much
what
so
dominion throughout the earth was under the Romans.
even or as the Romans, even so much so to the point when they're ruling today, they give that glory back unto Rome heavily because they know Rome gave them their power seat. Push through.
Even to the point where everything they build in it's
Same
like
Roman architecture.
same Roman
The
architecture.
football stadiums.
That's
the
what I
model
Colosseums,
after
ancient
Colosseums,
Colosseums
etc.
in Rome.
Right, the houses with important figures like members of parliament or ministers or senators or kind of thing. The column, if you're looking at the pillars of the place, same Roman architecture. Right, which we bring all that in the next video, of course, which
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death.
which this is the Roman Empire going out of power. Them being wounded to death, meaning the Roman Empire fell from grace and fell from its power, right?
And then the wound was healed.
It is healed via today. How is it healed? We've come back up into power under the same vibration today. Point blank period. They've come back up into power under the same vibration today. Right.
And all the world wondered after the beast.
Right.
And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast.
Well, how could they worship the dragon if the devil was and his head was chopped off?
If Yahushua Empire was established, how they worshiping the dragon.
Exactly. It was revived. That is what Christians are not able to track prophecy. That's why he literally thought he was making sense in it. He was not making any. That's what has happened when I think they're making sense to them, drawing them in prophecy. Because you talk one part, it made mention the fact you understand that the Roman Empire was real in time by Yahushua was supposed to rule, right? So that point, he was there at the time, he obviously there are parts in the prophecy you don't understand as well. Right?
Because next thing too, they're not able to jump in and out of prophecy because as a common thing the prophets used to do, they used to be writing about the events that are going on, jump into prophecy and then jump back out and continue with the events that's going on. They're unable to do that.
Some chapters is just whole jumping. Right?
Verse 4, and they worship the dragon which gave power unto the beast. They worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, and who's able to make war with him?
Think about it. How could they say they worship the dragon? Well, if the dragon was done away with 2,000 years ago, if the dragon representing the Roman Empire, right? If they were done away with 2,000 years ago upon the stone smoting the image, why they say they worship? When Yahushua smote the image, even the context clues, Yahushua smoting the image is representative of what? Him taking over. They tell me he's taking over and they're bowing to someone else. No. The scripture talk about Revelation 19, every knee shall bow to him, not to the Roman Empire.
In Zephaniah as well, it say what? Only the Lord alone, and that day shall be exalted.
Exactly. So this is context to prove, hey, hold on a minute. It wasn't what it was no 2,000 years ago, but right? Final verse and then we close with this.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
Exactly.
2 months.
Babylon has been in power, and they've been speaking great blasphemies, aka things against the Most High and things the Most High stands for. And what power was given unto him to continue 42 months? He was given that power upon coming up into rulership and authority and dominion to oppress the nation of Israel for that set time.
Literally 350 years.
See, another prophecy, beautiful 350-year prophecy that had to be fulfilled. Which I
That
would
is the
say,
point that already John the Baptist have at
yeah,
that point be.
I would say I think there's a point here where we still had a final captivity
Activity
to
to
go
go
through.
through.
So I add which Revelation 11, verse 8 touches on it, but we could start that point using Revelation 13 and
It's 5.
verse 5, right? So we could finish. That was it.
That was it.
Alright, so Lord will, this video was edifying to be left and that you all were edified in closing.
Like
Let's
this in
sing
Kalela,
Hallelujah,
Lemla,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Bashem
Bashem
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Bashem
Bashem
Rakakodash.
Rakakodash.
Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Gabriel, so shall we be here as always. It's a shalom
Shalom
unto
to
the
the
elect. This is a couple of brothers in the friends. I have shout and the brother
Hana.
and the brother Isaiah saying
Shalom.
shalom.
Repent,
Repent for
for
the
the
kingdom
kingdom
of
of
heaven
heaven
is
is
at
at
hand.
hand.